In this video, I want to do an introduction to Excel by showing you a simple spreadsheet and table. Let's jump over to Excel and I'll show you what we're going to create. Here I am in Excel, and this is what I want to create. I'm creating these Excel spreadsheets. It seems like just constantly. I've got probably dozens of spreadsheets that I use on a daily basis to track things. And what this is tracking is for each day, it's tracking the number of sales that I have, or not the number of views that I have of a video. And then I have sales here. This should say views. So what it's going to do is it's going to look at a particular YouTube video. YouTube video, this one right here, and it's going to track how many sales it's got per day. So this is where the data is coming from. I go to YouTube Studio and I look at the video and I look at its analytics. And you can see that it's got this number of views per day. I can go each day and I can see that on day 1 it had 106. On day 2 it had 123. So it keeps increasing, but what it doesn't tell me is how many sales I'm having per day. And I want to see that. So that's what this spreadsheet is all about. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create this by scratch. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new tab here. By pressing the plus sign down in the tabs at the bottom, now we have a new work area. The next thing that I like to do is to select the entire table. That you do by selecting the upper left-hand corner here. And notice how it selects everything. Then I can come over to the columns and I can right-click on a column and I can select column width. Now I'm changing the column width for the entire table from 8.43 or whatever the default is to 12. There, that gives me a little bit more room. See how all the columns are wider now? Now up at the top, I'm going to have my headers. And what I'm going to track is I'm going to track, there's two types of data that you can put into an Excel cell. And that's what these are. These are all cells. And they do computations and stuff. I can put fixed data or I can put a computation or a formula. So what I'm going to put is fixed data here. And the first thing that I need is the day. And then in the next column, I'm going to have the total. And then here, I'm going to have views per day. So this is the way it's going to work. I'm going to have day 0. Let's go ahead and number these columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So far, I have 6 days worth of data. So I only have 6 days so far. We're going to go on the 7th day, and to do that, I'm just going to duplicate a row. So that's our first thing. Now we need to record what are our totals. Now on day 0, we started at 0 views. Now let's go over to our data. On day 1, we had 106. On day 2, 123. So let's record those. 106 and 123. And I just type these numbers in, press return or whatever I want to do to enter the data. And let's look at day 3. That was 151. And I was at 208 by day 3. So 151 and 208. And 208. By day 5, I was 294 and 307. 294 and 307. And I suppose we can work on day 7, which we're beginning to gather right now. So let's add day 7 and see what we're at there. 307. So we haven't made much in the 2 hours. In fact, we made nothing. So let's not do day 7 yet. Okay, so there's our data. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a formula. Now, what I want is on day 0, I have 0 accumulated things. Now, if I wanted to calculate day one and how many I got on day one, it would be day one minus day zero. Now, the way you do a formula is you say equal sign. So I'm going to say equal B3 minus B2. Whoops, minus B2, which is 106. Now what happens is that this is a relative cell reference. So I'm referencing the contents of B3 minus the contents of B2, which is 106. Now if I take this cell reference and copy it, it will keep incrementing the cell reference, so it'll reference each cell. So I go copy and I go paste, and notice what it's done. It's calculated for each day how many sales it had by subtracting the previous days from the current day's total sales. And that's the way that you do calculations, with an equal sign and then a function. This is raw data. This is a function because it begins with an equal sign. And there's our table. Now what we can do is we can start cleaning up this table, make it look a little nicer. Let's take these rows, and now let's show the ribbon so that we can do some menu things here for a while. I'm going to do the background in black and the foreground in white here for the header. I think that looks nice. Let's take the first column and let's make it look gray. So I select all the first column just by dragging over it, and then I come here, I'm in Home, Font, and here they have a background color thing. So I'm going to make it gray. And then here I'm going to make the background color, let's make it green. Less green, a little lighter green. There we go. Now you can see that you type in the white area. Now let's put borders all around everything. So I select the entire table by dragging over it. I right click on it. So I select these cells, and then I right click and I say Format Cells, and I go to Border and I give an outline and an inside line. Now it's got lines all around everything. So we have a nicely formatted table. But what about our data that we did? Now what we want to do is plot by day the number of views. So what we do is we select the day column data by dragging over it, and then we hold the control key. And that allows us to select a discontiguous set of cells. And we select column C, the other thing that we want. Now what we want is to insert a recommended chart. And I'll take this chart right here and click OK. And there we go. We can drag this around, and we now have a chart of our data. Now I can come here and I can start formatting this table. I can double click on the header and I can say views per day for first course or video. And then I can select this and I could go to format. We want to show axis titles, and I double click on the axis title and I say this is the number of views, and this is, we select this down here and we say day. And there we go. Now we've got a nice little table and chart, and we go ahead and save this and we can work on it in the future. Now, if we want to add new days, rather than formatting an entire day, what I do is I go select, right click, copy, come below, say insert copied cells, and now I have a new day. I put in 7, and let's say this did 350. So it's got 43 views per day on day 7. Now to change my table, I go to it and I say, I click on this bottom funnel values thing and I select data. And here I can select the days through 7, hit control, hold control, and pick the values. And now I've updated it to include a new day. So I just keep adding days in this way. And that's the way to create a simple table and chart in Microsoft Excel.